The sky fashion world was like it had just exploded in slow motion. One post, yes, just one video of less than a minute, suddenly changed the course of the global fashion conversation. Calvin Klein has just dropped its latest visual bomb. Jungkook, the global icon, is back in their latest campaign. The result? Within an hour, more than 1 million views flooded the post, making comment after comment appear like a meteor shower in the comments. But wait, this is not just a promotional video. This is a moment that seems to split between the era before Jungkook Calvin Klein and after Jungkook Calvin Klein. An effortless style, a body that communicates through subtle but authoritative movements, and an aura that combines sensuality with art. It all felt so natural, like the camera was in love and didn't want to stop recording. If you look closely, there is a kind of silent message behind every move. Jungkook isn't just showing off denim or Calvin Klein underwear, he's telling a narrative about how authenticity can be a new form of power. There is no exaggerated smile, no contrived expression, but that is precisely what keeps millions of pairs of eyes glued. He looks like someone who knows very well. True style is not about trying to look cool, but about having been cool from the beginning. This phenomenon is not new. Every time Calvin Klein and Jungkook collaborate, the world seems to pause. But this time, it's different. There is something quieter, more mature, yet also more dangerous in a seductive sense. Perhaps because this is the moment where Jungkook seems increasingly comfortable in his own skin. The post was not just a fashion campaign, but a kind of public recognition from Calvin Klein that they know exactly which face can shake the global market with just one glance at the camera. And here's what's interesting. The style of the video is simple. Plain background, soft light, without excessive visual effects. But in that simplicity, we see something that rarely appears in the fashion world: honesty. Jungkook's every move seems unplanned, even though behind him is a large team that counts every second of lighting, every shadow, every trill of his steps. But the public doesn't see that. They only see Jungkook, who looks like himself, relaxed, unattainable, but close. And maybe that's why this video is so viral. Calvin Klein doesn't just sell products, they sell visual experiences that feel personal, almost like a little secret between Jungkook and the millions of people who watch them, as if he were speechless. "I'm not posing, I'm just being myself." And the public responded with millions of hearts, comments and views that did not move from the screen. Well, behind this visual explosion, there is an interesting story that not many know. A story where global strategy, public perception, and human appeal converge in a single point, and the name of that point is Jungkook. Let's discuss one by one the secrets behind this post that shook the fashion world. Ready? We start from the most astonishing. Jungkook doesn't need to talk to make the world stop scrolling. In the new Calvin Klein video, she just moves slowly, confidently, with a body that seems to have its own rhythm. But the movement is not just any movement. It's a natural choreography that blurs the line between art and marketing. When she pulls down her denim jacket or stares at the camera as if inviting but also keeping her distance, it's not just a pose. That's deep visual communication. Interestingly, Calvin Klein knows very well that Jungkook's body is already like a universal language. They do not give narration, do not add excessive text, there are no bombastic slogans. They just make room for Jungkook to speak in the most effective way, silent but meaningful. The result? The world catches everything. On TikTok, users began to recreate their movements. On Twitter, a 5-second snippet of the video was made into a GIF that spread faster than new fashion trends. Even fashion observers in Europe call this video visual poetry in denim. Interesting, because the term is rarely used for mass fashion campaigns. But that's the effect. There's something poetic in the way Jungkook transfers energy from his body to the camera. If you look closely, the video seems to have no direction. There is no chronological narrative. But that is precisely its strength. It is like an improvised dance among studio lights, deliberately arranged like windows to the world. The movements feel spontaneous, but still precise. He knows when to stare, when to look down, when to stop for a moment, so that the audience has time to catch their breath. That's not a coincidence. It was the result of a deep understanding of how the camera and the human body interact. And few artists in the world can master that. Jungkook isn't just showing off Calvin Klein, he's showing how the body can become a narrative in itself. Fashion editors from New York to Milan say the video may be a new template for a global campaign in the digital age. Wordless, but full of energy. Today's world does not need a long explanation. Just one figure who knows how to talk without talking. And that's Jungkook. In a minute of video, she proves that even silence can be the loudest language in the fashion world. Imagine this. Just an hour past Jungkook's video uploaded in Calvin Klein's official account. The spending figure immediately exceeded 1 million. Not a big promotion, not a long teaser, just one different post with the monochrome visual typical of CK and Jungkook as the center of its orbit. But the effect is like a hurricane. In terms of men, commenters from around the world looked at columns from K-pop fans in Seoul, fashion editors in Paris, to content creators from New York who instantly analyzed her framing and body language. One interesting thing, as a big company, the comments not only praise its performance, but how Jungkook made the product is amazing, said. People often choose denim or Calvin Klein tank tops. They feel part of the world he created. And therein lies the golden point of this strategy. Being real, not just clothes. When a brand is able to make its audience become one, there is a change in thinking that occurs. But what exactly is the secret behind this incredible achievement? The answer is not just because Jungkook is a global star. This is trust and credibility. Jungkook is not the type of ambassador who promotes dozens of brands at once. He chooses few, but does the total. Each collaboration with Calvin Klein feels like a new chapter in the symbiotic relationship between the artist and the fashion label. Not much if the digital analysts relate this masterclass in brand synergy. Behind the scenes, the Calvin Klein team knows everything about Jungkook and has a distinctive engagement pattern. Ride fast, last long, and produce a cross-platform domino effect. This is not a session trend. It is a digital social phenomenon. In the first hour, an average of 60% of interactions came from Twitter, divided by X and TikTok, two platforms where quick reactions are trending online. Subsequently, the post became a fashion news media such as Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, to WWD without the need for an official release. The media knew that the name Jungkook x Calvin Klein was news enough. Then comes the psychological effect. Growing public curiosity. People began to find out, when was the video released? Is this part of a new campaign for a flagship store in Tokyo? Or the latest teaser of the next Calvin Klein show? Everything in it, too, is discussed, and therein lies the following. True viral value. Organically grown interactions. Whenever a question is asked, the algorithm works, displaying that video on more homepages, and a cycle emerges. In a short time, Jungkook wasn't just a campaign icon, he was the algorithm itself. Calvin Klein does not need to pay extra for promotions because everyone voluntarily accepts them. It is the form, that the purest media acquires. The moment when the world promotes something without being asked. But if we look deeper, there's a lot of emotion behind it as well. Jungkook is not just a model. He is a figure who provides a sense of personal connection with his audience. In this fast-paced and digital world, it's a straightforward thing. He presents like a real human being, not a fake persona behind a filter. So, when she appeared in a minimalistic Calvin Klein top, the public did not see advertising. However, there are a few things to consider in choosing the right domain name. In fact, it only takes an hour to restore 1 million memories, because every second in that video is not just a promotion, but a mirror of someone who becomes a representation of a big idea. Simplicity is power. The comments column on the post looks like a global sea of euphoria. From Korean to Japanese to English to Spanish to French, it's all in one sentence. She was born for Calvin Klein. Not much. Not the official accounts of the fashion media and the big influencers are partly responsible with their own style. Some say the definition of luxury is in simplicity. Others say she doesn't wear Calvin Klein. Calvin Klein wears it. But what makes the answer universal? The answer is clear on the concept of fit. In the world of fashion, fit is not just a dress size, but an identity to be perfect in the persona of the ambassador. Calvin Klein is famous for its sensual minimalist aesthetics, bringing confidence without saying much. And Jungkook? It's a perfect representation of that philosophy. Over the years, the public has made a transformation from a teenager into an adult man with a mysterious but warm aura. In this campaign, all those phases feel different. His movements were strong, but his eyes lit up. There is no loud music, but the rhythm itself is already like a visual symphony. The positive comments were not just because of physical appeal, but because the public experienced consistency and evolution. Jungkook is not a part of the dipole to be a model. He is a figure that has naturally grown into an icon, and Calvin Klein only shows what has been in it for a long time. On TikTok, a new trend has emerged called Number CC Energy, in which users try to change the vibe of Jungkook's videos. But, interestingly, many are aware such an aura cannot be contrived. It comes from self-confidence born of authenticity. From there came a unique phenomenon. Many comments from non-K-pop fans who said, "I didn't know who he was before, but now I understand." It's amazing because this video transcends the boundaries of fandom. It takes a global audience that is representative not of the music or the group, but of the universal charm that anyone can assume. Even some fashion editors formulate the opinion that Jungkook has redefined the meaning of the modern man. In an era where masks are often talked about, Jungkook came without trying to change perceptions. He was just himself, and the public accepted that. The collaboration dates back to the 1990 seconds when Calvin Klein worked with figures like Mark Wahlberg or Kate Moss, but its 21st century version is still more exclusive and global. Jungkook is not just a Korean or Asian icon. He is the face of the modern world that knows no cultural boundaries. So no wonder every positive comment on the post is not just a compliment, but an idea. The world sees a person who does not have a goal to be perfect because his existence contradicts what makes him real. And in a fashion world that is often far from reality, Jungkook's presence at Calvin Klein serves as a bridge between aesthetics and honesty. A rare moment where fashion feels human. If you think video is just a marketing ploy, you're wrong. Behind that 1 minute of effortless Jungkook footage, there's a huge design Calvin Klein has been preparing for months. But even though the entire concept, lighting, and cinematography was composed by a team of professionals, it was still Jungkook himself who became the magnet. It is he who is the center of gravity that makes Calvin Klein's entire narrative feel alive. This is interesting, because usually in the fashion world, it is the brand that dictates the direction. But here, the dynamic was reversed. Jungkook wasn't just wearing Calvin Klein, it was the brand that hitchhiked on his aura. This fact is undeniable. Since his first collaboration, sales of products worn by Jungkook immediately jumped significantly. Data from the East Asian e-commerce platform showed a jump in sales of up to 300% in just 24 hours after the photos were released. Even products that she did not wear right away, only appeared on the background shelves, were in demand. This phenomenon is referred to by observers as the Jungkook effect, a term born because of its apparent impact on consumer behavior. But in this latest campaign, what is more interesting is no longer just numbers, but the direction of the strategy. Calvin Klein chose not to sell products explicitly. They sell moments. They know, in the digital age, viral moments are more expensive than any billboard. And who can create that moment without excessive effort? Jungkook. This strategy is smart, but also high risk. Because if you choose the wrong figure, a natural campaign like this can look awkward or tasteless. But with Jungkook, the result was precisely such a quiet explosion, not a bang, but a hard hit. He didn't scream for attention, but the world couldn't even stop staring. And Calvin Klein knows that power very well. Behind the scenes, they built the entire narrative of the campaign on the idea of controlled simplicity. That is, creating a spontaneous impression that is actually well planned. From studio lighting that mimics the reflection of morning light in an apartment window, to the slow motion of denim fabric that was deliberately taken with a high-speed camera to make it look like it was floating in the air. Every little detail counts, but still feels organic. And who can sell that artificial naturalness better than anyone? Yes, Jungkook, because it was natural from the beginning. This is what sets Jungkook apart from most other celebrity models. He doesn't act like he is. While other brands are busy creating personas, Jungkook is proving that being authentic is the most powerful strategy in a world full of falsehoods. Marketing experts refer to this style as human luxury branding, a new trend in which brands drop formality and get closer to the human side of their consumers. But to run that, it takes a figure that the public really trusts. And that's where Jungkook became Calvin Klein's most valuable asset. He doesn't just represent the brand, he becomes its emotional heart. Even competitors in the global fashion industry are now starting to imitate CK's approach. They are looking for someone like Jungkook, even though they know it's hard to find an equal. It's not just about visual appearance, it's about the aura, the balance between calm and power, between closeness and mystery. An aura that cannot be taught or regulated by contract. An aura that only appears when a person truly believes in himself. So, while this campaign is clearly a big win for Calvin Klein in terms of commercial and global image, the real winner is still Jungkook. It's not just the face of the brand, it's the story they borrowed. And now, after the video exploded on the internet, one thing is clear. Without Jungkook, Calvin Klein is still an iconic brand. But with Jungkook, they became legends living in the digital age.